Recording. All right. So, all right, guys. This is Deep2Hoops. I'm Travis,
I'm Caleb.
and we just started this podcast mainly because, like, we love talking about basketball, and we do it way too often.
About that a lot, so why not put it out there? Our name comes from so we live in Minnesota, and our name comes from a player called Andrew Wiggins, which you guys probably heard of him before. And
Yeah,
if you don't know,
exactly.
he loves pulling up just a few feet inside the 3-point line, and that's the most infuriating thing to watch. So
In this day and age, like, it's just not an efficient shot, and so we decided to call it Deep2Hoops. So the Deep 2 for Wiggins. And then we just love talking about hoops. We thought it'd be a creative idea, and we'll go into like our love for Wiggins and the Wolves at another time, another pod. But yeah, I'd say like they're probably our favorite teammate. Like we love watching what they do the most, and like the mistakes they make. It's really like frustrating to see how poorly ran they are. Which goes to a lot of NBA teams. We'll get into that as well.
yeah. Um, so we want to start off to say another reason why we started this podcast, not only because we love basketball and love talking about it, but because when we watch like the big name analysts like you see on ESPN or Fox Sports, they don't know what they're talking about. Like not because they don't know anything, but also because they have to cover so many different sports and different topics that when they talk about basketball, it becomes just like toxic because they drive the same narrative and they don't really know they don't research enough what they're talking about, in my opinion. And
Right. So
we're
like
not claiming to be experts or anything. We're just saying what we think.
yes, like if you like think about it, like you go on, a lot of people like you'll have listen to podcasts from them or like on TV or even like Snapchat or Instagram clips, right? And like you'll see like Snapchat Sports Center is like talking about the same things as ESPN like ESPN Sports Center, and then the same thing that's talking about Fox Sports, same thing on First Take, and it's kind of just repetitive and like the same thing. No like actual knowledge being shared to everyone around. It's just like noise. Everyone's just like listening to noise and like not really like getting into the getting their hands dirty, getting the grit and grind of the game, and like really talking about problems and like things that are going wrong.
Right. Like I watched this video a while ago, and it was Mark Cuban explaining to Skip Bayless on why he doesn't know anything about basketball. And every time, and Mark Cuban's point was basically this: that Skip Bayless, all he talked about was like what a player should do, what is expected of them, and not like he talked about Dallas and Miami Heat in 2012, and on why LeBron struggled to score and play effective against Dallas. But Skip Bayless just talked about, oh, LeBron supposed to put his head down the basket and get points, get fouled every time. But he never took into consideration of what schemes Dallas was throwing at LeBron, where he
Right.
double teaming from.
Zone, running the zone, and right,
You're just talking about great players do this, like that black and white like that, not about the actual game. That's what we're trying to get at.
right. So like we just like made a quick list of names, and maybe we can just give like one frustrating thing that they always do. And so we got Colin Coward, he's one. Nick Wright, his little minion, he's one. Stephen A, who I don't like at all. I don't think Kale doesn't like him as much as me, but I just like he's so obnoxious. We'll get into that later. And then we got Shannon and Skip, who kind of fall into the more like not as educated, like they don't watch hoop that much. You know what I'm saying?
And I would throw Max Kellerman in that one, in that
Ooh,
pool,
yeah.
pool as well.
He's guilty by association though. He took
Yeah.
Skip's job. Ain't no
So
really no, ain't no nobody really talks about him that much. He's just another like talking head, bro.
he's just
But
another person that has to talk about basketball because that's their job. They really don't know much about it.
right, so like, um, I can take Colin or Nick. Which one would you rather have? You can have Colin.
Yeah, you handle Nick. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I'll take Stephen A for sure, and then
I'll take Shannon.
You take Shannon. We can talk about Skip the same. Or we can talk about Shannon and Skip the same too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Start.
Colin, you want to start with Colin?
So Colin, man.
Oh, where do we begin?
Let's begin with Colin. Colin is a guy who, no matter what anybody brings, no matter what information that's brought to him, will still drive the same idea or narrative that he began the show with. So, for example, one day Chris Broussard came on the show, and they're talking about. No, it was my bad. It was Stephen A. It was what's his,
Doug Gottlieb.
no, the basketball player, Stephen Jackson, right? Stephen Jackson.
Stephen Jackson, yeah.
Jackson came on the show. And they're talking about Katie's comments about LeBron. Katie's comments about LeBron, about playing with LeBron is toxic. And what Stephen
You cut. Oh, Caleb, you cutting out. You cut out. Start again.
So what Stephen Jackson was trying to explain to
Why are you
Colin
getting close?
was that Katie's comments weren't about LeBron, but it was about the media that covered LeBron. So when he said that playing with LeBron is toxic, he was saying that no matter what happens with the team, win or lose, LeBron will be praised, and the other players will be either say good job or be torn down. And what Colin was kept trying to spew at him was, oh, Katie hates LeBron. He wants to be LeBron, blah, blah, blah. It had nothing to do about LeBron. It had to do with the atmosphere which LeBron brings. And that's just what the media brings. And that's all I'm trying. Like, he's not just, yeah, you got it, man. Keep going.
Yeah, so like Colin, I'll just add a little bit about Colin. It's just this clear bias that
Yes.
like I feel like it's just about the views, and it's about taking a stand on one player or another player. It's just about LeBron, because who's the most popular in the league? Who's got the most All-Star votes right now while we're recording this pod? It's LeBron or Giannis. I can't remember, Kale. You remember? I'm pretty sure it's LeBron.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's LeBron.
LeBron's leading in the West, at least. I know that. So it's like, well, what's gonna get what's gonna get my channel, my network the most views? What's gonna make me the most money? It's
Yeah.
LeBron. It's like that's the point of why we're making this podcast. Is like we're not making this podcast for money. We're making it because we love hoop, we love the game. So that's like a big reason we like don't like a lot of these talking heads. It's just all about the dollar. They get told what they're gonna talk about every day, right? Kale,
Yeah.
like they don't choose.
Right. And that goes to like how each person like First Take or Nick Wright and Nick's Wright show, like they just talk about what will get people to click on their video. They don't talk about what stuff really matters. They just talk about the big headlines, and that's what frustrates us.
Yeah. So going into that, Nick Wright, there was a video like me and Caleb watched. It was just like exposing Nick Wright, and it's a video of old clips of his tweets and voice on the radio. I'm pretty sure, and I don't think he was on TV at that time, but just talking about how like he was saying KD's better than LeBron was one of them, and like he's already better than LeBron. But then he gets on TV, and now he's got a whole different persona once he started getting more popular on Fox. Then right before he got his show with Chris Carter, before then, like he was right when he was just like started getting known by going on other shows as a guest, Colin's show, and it was so before then he was saying like he didn't have this LeBron bias. All of a sudden he started getting more popular in Fox, and it's like, oh, well, what gets me the most views? What's gonna give me my own show? Talk about LeBron, and have such a closed mind that you have such a bias about it. Like you bring up something bad about LeBron, and he'll just defer it away, right? So they say, LeBron does all this good, blah, blah. He's not a good free throw shooter. Well, and then he'll say, well, he won't acknowledge flaws in LeBron, if that's what I'm saying, if that's my point to get across.
Right, and like let's like we're not here trying to hate on anybody, but like we just want to get the point across that like the mainstream media that covers sports in general is not giving you like the like it's not giving you content that actually matters. It's giving you content that people quote unquote care about. That's not really important to the game. Like who really cares about what KD said about LeBron? Like does that affect how he's probably gonna play on the court? Does that affect that doesn't affect anything but besides when people think, ooh, KD might go there and this like KD's gonna do what he's gonna do in the summer. It's not, so like
Yeah.
talking about what KD said about LeBron doesn't matter. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah. And then that's enough on that. We'll get into that. We might talk about that in the future too. But and then for Stephen A. Smith, I just got a very short. He's just so obnoxious, and he's one of those like I would say the list of five names we have: Colin, Nick, Stephen A., Shannon, and Skip. They're all talking heads. They all cover, but Stephen A. the most. He talks about the most. He talks about like every sport the most. He talks about tennis. Like he talks about everything, right?
Yep.
And it's just like to have that much not like he's not sitting down every night watching NBA games. He's only watching the big games like tonight, the Nuggets and Lakers. He's not gonna sit down and watch like highlights of another team or film on another team. Like he doesn't really love the game that much. So Shannon and Skip saying like just getting those views.
Yeah. Okay. So like next we want to talk about this. Like our podcast is not going to be that. We just want to get that out the way. What our podcast will be about is our opinions on basketball and what we think.
Mm-hmm.
What we think should happen for the best team for the best like what we think should happen for the best of each team.
Right.
And so today's topic is our top 3 trades that should happen. So we're each going to pick 3 teams in which we think should make a trade, either for like right now success or future success.
Right. Yeah. Right. So just bettering themselves and like what we think that obviously we're not in the front office, right? But like it's not rocket science to figure out like they can get things done. They can make changes happen. But a lot of them are scared or like not informed or they're just waiting. They're betting on something like that's not a sure thing, right? So we can just go like one at a time. Caleb, you can go first. That's cool.
All right. So my first team was the Pelicans. Now, y'all already heard about this. AD needs to be traded, blah, blah, blah. But I have a different reason for why AD should be traded. It's not because his talents are too great that he needs to get out of New Orleans, whatever. Mine is for the team. So the team, okay. So AD is a great talent, right? And you guys obviously cannot build around him. So instead of you just putting subpar players around him, you guys being mid, like right now you guys are 12th in the West. That's not good when you have a top 5 player in the world.
Yeah.
So right now, I think the Pelicans should trade for a lot of young assets, either that be players or picks. Now I don't know what team they should trade for, but I was thinking Lakers because the Lakers have abundance of young talent. So like AD could be traded for like, say example, Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball. Just say those 2. And then you would get your pick. You wouldn't trade anyway your picks. So this year you could like be bad this season, and so you get a high pick to build. So then you would have Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, and then whatever you guys pick in the draft.
Drew Holiday.
And then you also have still Drew Holiday, which signed a contract 2 summers ago.
You could sign Julius to extend. Extend Julius.
You guys could be like. I guess you guys, the Pelicans, they could kind of do what Boston Celtics did. Like you can be not gonna be as good as Boston, but you can still be like watchable in the NBA, but still get better at the same time.
Right, because another thing, like just to add in, like I read about like it was like Pelicans versus Nuggets, I think. I was listening to someone talk about how the stadium wasn't even sold out. Right. It was the number 1 team in the West versus like in the Pelicans. They're obviously the 12th team, but they were up there earlier in the season. We're almost to the halfway point, and they dropped down a little bit. But like they're still the Pelicans. They had still have AD, and it was still a home game, right? against the number one team in the West, and they're still not selling out. So I don't know, like obviously that's how they generate the revenue, but that shouldn't be their main reason for keeping AD is selling tickets. Like you guys aren't selling tickets like that. It's New Orleans.
Right. And mind you, you guys, Pelicans just came off that great series against the Portland Trailblazers, beating them 4-0 after being a lower seed. Like you should have hype around your team, but you just don't.
You just don't.
So,
sort of like how we had it in Minnesota.
Right. So you gotta just bite the bullet. And I know like right now, if you trade away AD, the trade's gonna be lopsided no matter what. No matter like who you trade him for, pretty much the trade's gonna be lopsided. So you just gotta bite the bullet.
Trade him early.
That you're gonna get lesser value right now, but maybe if you guys if they trade to the right team and for the right assets and pick well in the draft, it could eventually turn to more overall than AD.
I was thinking of a good trade maybe. So AD obviously, and you get Lonzo, BI, and maybe Zubac as well.
Yeah.
And maybe a pick, in 2 years, 3 years, maybe 2 picks even. And you trade away AD, and maybe they'll take Etuan Moore. They could use a shooter like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Not a lot of other players they would take. Maybe Darius Miller. He ain't bad. He's a shooter.
It's like Nico.
Nico is a good, and he's an expiring though.
Yeah.
So that would be good for this year too.
Right.
Right. And maybe if they give up Nico, they'll get 2 or 3 more, like two first rounders instead of just one.
Yeah.
Or 3 first rounders instead of just 2, right? So, and their lineup's not looking bad. It's Lonzo, Drew. They got Julius. They're gonna have Zubac.
And it would help you because Drew Holiday has said over and over that he doesn't want to be a point guard, and Lonzo fixed that. And bro, let's be honest, Lonzo's way better than Alpha Payne. Like Alpha Payne's not.
Yeah.
So you have Lonzo, Drew, which is a pretty solid backcourt, I would say, in the NBA.
Then you got Brandon and Julius and Ivica Zubac and Etuan Moore as well. It would depend if you trade him or not, but Mirotic is a good option. So like you could have Julius come off the bench, start Etuan at the 3 like they still do that now. Start BI at the 4, go small, and Zubac have Julius off the bench, but he's still playing a lot. Like that's a solid competing team, even if you are like trying to lose. Like they're not gonna be a playoff team, obviously, but like that's still a good foundation, like you were saying.
It's an exciting young team instead of a team yeah, it has a great player, but they are what they are. They're probably not getting much better with the current team they have.
Right. That's a good trade. But I can go. You're gonna have to help me with this one too. The Pistons. So think about the Pistons. They have two max guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty obvious. They got Drummond and Blake. Blake's going crazy too, but they're still like not doing the best. 10th in the East, 6 games below 500. When I watch their highlights, like I just don't see how they're doing that bad. They started off really good, obviously with Dwayne Casey, but like you look at who they're playing, like in their rotations, and they just don't have the quality of players. It's pretty obvious.
A big reason for that, I think, is Reggie Jackson just fell off. When he his first 2 years there, maybe he was good for maybe a double every 2 double-doubles every 10 games. You know, like he was passing the ball well and scoring the ball well. But now he is playing horrible. He's averaging 15 points, shooting 39% from the field and 33% from 3. Only 4 assists a game. Like that's just not acceptable for your starting point guard. Like getting paid, he got a 4-year, $80 million extension a few years ago. Like if you're paying him that much, he should be giving you more than that.
Yeah.
So the problem is their guard play. Like they have their bigs, like they have enough, but they just don't have they have Ish Smith, which is a good backup point guard, and Stanley Johnson.
Johnson, I think he's hurt right now.
Yeah,
but he's not. But he's been struggling. He was starting. Then he coming off the bench. He was like the 9th dude, getting the 9th most minutes, and it's just another thing is Dwayne Casey. He's not a bad coach, but when you think about teams, he runs ISO ball, right? That's
Yeah,
what they've been relying on is Blake iso ball, and that's only going to get you so far. Like Blake's obviously good, but like
a reason why they kicked him, like didn't kick him, but they fired him from Toronto is because of imagine his lack of imagination on offense. He was, like you said, just iso ball, iso ball. He's more of a defensive coach, and that's why, like, if you don't have the talent to just play iso ball all the time, like you're not deep enough to play iso ball all the time, you're not gonna win. That's the problem. Their guard play is just not where it
yeah.
needs to be.
So I mean, when you think about available players in the league, but they have no assets,
That is,
right?
they don't.
Like
They're the only thing that they could do because like they have Andre Drummond and Blake locked up, so
nobody wants those two.
nobody wants those two, and so you don't want to pay them all that money and not win. So you might as well. It's not good for long term. Maybe it depends how this turns out, but you can just trade away some picks and a few of your young guys. I don't like they have Kyrie Thomas still there. I mean, he hasn't played yet, but
Yeah, he's barely playing. That's the thing. They're like when you talk about middle of the road teams, like stuck teams, they're stuck,
yeah,
stuck.
yeah.
So, man, like that's the thing. They should make a trade for the to build like future assets, but they're in limbo. Obviously, like it's a team that team is just messed up. I can't even think about any trades for them. Actually, scratch them. Next,
All right, my next team is Dallas. And
Dallas.
Dallas, yeah.
I like watching Dallas.
I know Charles will not agree with this at all, but I think they should trade Dennis Smith Jr. And here's why. They should trade Dennis Smith not because he's not a good player, because he's a great player, or will be a really good player in the league, but because he doesn't do anything specifically well. He drives well, but he needs the ball in his hand to do that. And you want the ball in Luka's hand. You don't want him in his hand. Like for example, to see like how Luka and him do not work. Dennis Smith is averaging 2 less points, one less rebound, one less assist from last season. Now you don't want to see that from a second year player. Their points, their although his efficiency has gone up, like his shooting percentages have gone up, but you still don't want to see. You want to see them improve, and I feel like he hasn't shown that he's improved that much. So it's hard. It's hard to make a trade for them for Smith because you don't know what his ceiling is and how he's playing right now. You don't know what his value really is either. So
So what would you want for him? You would want like Mikal Bridges and Kelly Oubre?
I was thinking either good young wings around that you can put around Luca and play Luca at the one, or you get a guard that is has a specialty in one, like especially in like catch and shoot or shooting. That's a really good shooter. That's what I think. Like
I
I
think
was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking. Do you have any ideas like who would
I
take him?
was thinking first of all, I would not trade him.
I know.
He's like you say you want Luca at the one, but for 48 minutes, and
No,
obviously he's not gonna go
I,
for 30 some minutes. Luca is just you're cutting out. Say
yeah,
it
yeah.
again.
I wouldn't say Luca at the one. I was just saying if that's what Dallas wanted. But you do want Luca as like the primary ball handler, but not the point guard.
Yeah, you don't want him as the yeah. I mean, obviously late in the game, but also like Dennis Smith, he's just an all around good player. He might not do one thing well, but he's an all around guard
Mm-hmm.
that covers weaknesses. Like when he clamped up PG.
I did claim to do that.
Yeah, right. That ain't no joke. But I just like him because it's only his second year. Obviously, he'll get better at catch and shoot threes, but like that's not. He's just another playmaker, dynamic guard. And the only argument I would have against getting rid of him is his injuries, because like he is like a player like that. That'd be the only thing I would accept from Kale's argument. But he didn't even use it, so yeah, I can't accept it. So for me, you'd have to get a lot because those are their two staples of the future, right? And I would think about maybe getting rid of Wesley's expiring
That's
soon.
good. Yeah.
Wesley's nice for them,
Yeah.
You see like their last game against the Warriors, he hits tough threes, man, and he's a big time defender. Like when it comes late in the games, like he's not soft like Jay Crowder. Like he plays actual like he's a good wing defender. Jay Crowder, like he's just all hype.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the thing. They have a lot of like Dwight Powell's nice. He's nice big off the bench. JJ is a nice guard off the
But
bench.
he tore his Achilles, bro.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I remember like he grabbed that. It was against the Wolves.
It was against us. Yeah.
Yeah, it was against the Wolves. He grabbed that, but Jalen Brunson, he's nice.
Yeah. He just plays well. Like I think Jalen Brunson's a nice point guard.
Yeah,
He'll be nice.
Jalen Brunson was a nice pick. They had but that's the thing. Like they should call Phoenix, see what they want, because Phoenix has a dumb amount of wings. Say
Yeah.
but they might have to give up Jalen Brunson. I would keep Dennis. I would give up maybe Jalen. I know we just talked about like, but if you could get, I don't know if I would get, but I would try and get Kelly or Mikal. I'm trying to think of other wings they could get, right? But
Yeah. I just think,
Kent Bazemore.
but I think he's on an expiring contract. Pretty sure his contract's up pretty soon.
Mm,
But
I don't
I
think
was
so.
just thinking, like, you like watching Dennis Smith, you would think he has a high ceiling and that he would improve from year one to year two. And I think that shows that maybe Luka and Dennis Smith don't work well together. So why not get somebody, get things back from him right now while you still can? That's kind of my mindset.
That's like, how do they not work well together? They're doing good. They're doing way better than last year.
They're 13th in the West right now.
They're doing way better than last year. They're not like last year though.
The players, they had DeAndre, then they got Luka. But I'm saying there's like I just don't see how long term they'll work together. I just don't see that, in my opinion.
Huh.
We go to your trade though. Your next trade.
But I just don't know. But like we've seen 30. We've seen 30 games.
Halfway, there's more than 30 games.
No, we're not halfway yet. We're almost. It's in like 35 games.
43 games right now.
43 right now. But okay, so you've seen 43 games. Like, that's tough just to just jump ship on that.
It's tough, man.
For what? For two wings.
I was thinking a point guard, another point
Who are
guard.
you gonna get then?
I mean, look through.
See,
Give him. Ooh, I'll take Shy from him. Stop it.
Shai's not a catch and shoot guard.
I know, but he does something well though. Yes, he does something.
That's just not. That's like going exactly against what you were saying.
No, it's not, because he's not, bro, he drives, real like he doesn't the ball in his hand. Yeah, he's going against him.
Okay, I'll take that. Let's move on to the Blazers since Caleb didn't have no trade idea, but he wanted to get rid of Dennis Smith. What was Dennis Smith pick? 7th pick?
Look.